Greetings and salutations, knowledge seekers, and welcome to this video. Today, I would like to talk to you about the subconscious and how our mind and body is trying to tell us things sometimes, and why it's very important for us to listen. And I know that this sounds a little bit metaphysical and abstract, but I assure you the concepts that I'm going to discuss are pretty simple to understand, and they're going to be very helpful for you to achieve mental clarity and to improve your mental health. Let's get into it. When it comes to the subconscious, there's one man whose name must always be mentioned, and that is Carl Jung, a Swiss psychologist, that was born in the 19th century but did most of his work during the 20th century. And he is really the individual that wrote the book on how to interpret our subconscious and get in touch with it. For Carl Jung, it was very annoying that people felt the subconscious was complete nonsense. At least that's the impression that I'm getting from reading his work. And I can understand why. He felt like the subconscious was something that was much more respected and much more closely studied by ancient tribes and what he calls primitive cultures, underdeveloped societies that existed during his lifetime, because they would actually spend time and try to interpret dreams and various types of visions that individuals got, which is something that for us can sometimes be considered, still to this day, complete nonsense. And for Jung, also for me, that's a bit counterintuitive. Why would our brain do something that has no meaning whatsoever? I mean, our brain is the most complex thing that we are aware of that exists in the universe, right? There's no computer yet that is as complicated and as nuanced as our brain. We have such vast cognitive abilities. So there's no reason to believe that during 8 hours of our existence each day and the 1-2 hours of REM sleep that all of us have, our brain is completely shut down and portrays to us visions that have nothing to do with who we are or the encounters that we've had during the day or during our lifetime. So as a part of his interpretation of dreams, Jung developed the concept of the shadow. And it's a brilliant concept, and it's also a brilliant manifestation of how our brain works and how they want to protect us at all times. So the shadow usually comes to you in your sleep, and it's usually a vision of another man. And that if you're a man, and not a female if you're a female. But it can be a friend, it can be a distant relative, somebody that you can trust, but it's never you, right? Because your shadow is kind of like your opposite, or at least the opposite of the way you perceive yourself. It harbors all your egotism, all your cowardness, all of these fantasies that all of us have that can never be realized. Our deepest internal shame is projected to us via the image of our shadow. And that's very scary. It's very uncomfortable, if you think about it, when a friend points out one of your deepest insecurities. If somebody says that you are short or too tall, I've always been called very tall, I'm pretty tall. or fat or bold. I'm bold as well. If you don't feel like you're any of those things, you'll not react, right? If somebody calls me short, I'll be like, yeah, okay, whatever, man. But if somebody says you're too tall, you look like Gulliver in the land of Lilliputians, then when I was a kid, that actually got to me, right? Imagine if your own subconscious attacks you. That's pretty scary. That's something that maybe not all of us, not a lot of us can deal with. And that's why the shadow manifests itself as somebody else. It's not you, that the image of you that comes in your sleep and points to all these shameful things that you have in your subconscious. It's somebody else that wants to guide you and open your mind to the possibility that these thoughts even exist. Because they do, and because they create this deep internal anxiety and feeling of uneasiness in us. And a good metaphor is one of the labors of Hercules, the hero from Greek mythology, son of Zeus, demigod, that performed 12 labors. His first labor was to clean the staples of Augean, and that was a labor that was inconceivable for any individual. Those staples were not cleaned for decades, and they were full of excrements and mud and all sorts of other disgusting stuff. So what he did was he redirected a river. It's helpful to be the son of a god, right? You can do things that us mere mortals cannot accomplish. But it's a good metaphor of the subconscious. We have so much garbage in our brain that we don't want to acknowledge exists. And the more we pile it up, the more scared we become of even addressing it. And it becomes this feat, this labor, this great accomplishment that's barely possible for most of us if we continue to pile on the garbage, and if we continue to allow it to remain unaddressed. So what should we do? We should acknowledge our dark side. It's not that difficult. We all have it. We all have negative thoughts. We all have negative emotions. We all have bad feelings about other individuals. We all have fantasies that we couldn't live up to, that were never materialized. We all wanted to be a famous athlete or a famous musician when we were young, and that's not happening for the vast majority of us. That's what makes it special. So we need to acknowledge those and try to accept them. Maybe the dreams that we had as a child and as a young adult would never materialize. But life is magical, life is mysterious. There are so many opportunities that present themselves to us each and every day. And a lot of them would probably allow us to be much more happy than, if we were to become a famous athlete or a famous musician. Because at least, even though those dreams will always remain unfulfilled, at least we have the opportunity to address who we are and be happy with that individual instead of dying at 33 like Kurt Cobain, right? So you never know what life is going to bring to you. You never know what kind of challenges and opportunities lie ahead of you. So we should not be afraid of a simple thing like our unconscious. We carry it with us everywhere anyway. So we might as well try to listen to it a little bit more, try to understand our body, why it makes us feel in a certain way. Why are you angry and you don't even know why you're walking around angry, right? Or stressed or anxious. Maybe it is a voice deep inside you that tells you that something needs to be addressed and something needs to be looked at a little bit more honestly, a little bit more earnestly. And perhaps that helps you to build a better life, to build a better existence for yourself, and be a little bit happier today than you were yesterday. Thank you guys for watching and listening. I hope you like my content. If you do, please like and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.